So we have a broader framework at Eventide of avoid, embrace, engage. And really, God took us through a journey in understanding that framework. So when we first decided to launch an investment firm, we were more focused on avoid. We saw scriptures like Proverbs chapter 1 that talked about avoiding ill-gotten gain. It says, there are verses like, my son, if sinful men entice you, do not go along with them. If they say, come along with us. And then at that time, I started reading those scriptures with the lens of an investor. And if they say, come along with us, we will get all sorts of valuable things. We will get all sorts of profits, dividends, capital gains, and fill our houses with plunder, and fill our bank accounts, our 401k plans, our IRAs with plunder. Cast lot with us, invest with us. We will share the common purse. A mutual fund, an ETF, a private fund, it's a common purse that many people are sharing in the profits together. And the passage goes on to say, do not share a purse with such people. Do not go along with ill-gotten gain or with plunder. And so passages like that really impacted our view. So that avoid component of that framework of avoid and embrace, engage, came first for us. And then there was a man named Tim Weinhold that I really believe that God miraculously brought to us, because he came 2 weeks before the launch of the Gilead Fund to this house church that Finney and I were leading. And the house church is mostly college students. There's about 20 people in the house church. Tim randomly Googled house churches in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And he shows up at the house church. Tim had never been to a house church in his life. He's still with Eventide, so he would tell you he had never been to a house church in his life. And Tim also was a student of faith and business, probably more than anybody else in the country, at least that I knew. There's a book called Why Business Matters to God by a person named Jeff Van Duzer, the dean of the Seattle Pacific University. Tim was on his advisory board. And so Tim somehow shows up at our house church in Cambridge, overhears about this Christian mutual fund we're about to start. And then he said, okay, I know what it means to be a Christian. I know what a mutual fund is. Put that together for me. And we don't use that language, Christian mutual fund, anymore. We say values-based mutual fund or values-based investing. But we explained that we would be avoiding ill-gotten gain. He said, that's great. But if you're investing capital and you're allocating capital, where should Christians allocate capital? And that's how we started studying the Bible even more deeply, starting in Genesis 1 and 2 of creation and God calling good the things that he creates and creating us in his image. So the work that we do and the things that we create and partner with should be things that God could call good. And then the second great commandment in the Bible, to love your neighbor as yourself, the Apostle Paul in Galatians said that all the commandments are summed up in that one commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself. So we started to ask ourselves, who are the neighbors to a business? And in Leviticus chapter 19, when we read the love your neighbor verse, it's actually speaking to business people, vineyard owners, farmers, how they should treat their hired servants, how they should treat the employee, the poor in the community. So we asked ourselves, what are all the neighbors to a business? And we came up with 6 neighbors, stakeholders: customers, employees, supply chain, host communities, environment, and society. So ultimately, that's where the embrace component comes into the Eventide story. We seek to invest and partner with companies that are loving their neighbors, that are serving well these 6 stakeholders.